What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 4 of Spurs Up. In the replacement of Ben Parsons, who is covering the NCAA Sweet 16 in New York, is guest host Patrick DeMarre. How you doing, man?
Good, man.
I appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
For today's topic, the first topic we're going to talk about is Hall of Fame qualifications. Now, recently the NFL ballots came out for the Hall of Fame, and Terrell Owens is once again not on that ballot to make the Hall of Fame. And my question to you, Patrick, you know, you have a list of players in each sport, you know, who deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Do you think it's all about off-field allegations, or do you think it's about how they impact the game?
Well, I think the most important thing when considering who makes it into the Hall of Fame and who doesn't is how they impact not just the game, but their team around them. Terrell Owens was a phenomenal player. He was all-pro for I don't know how many years, but plenty. I mean, for almost a decade, he owned the wide receiver position in the NFL, it seemed like. Him and Randy Moss were like the number 1 and number 2 guys in the NFL at the wideout position. But he also had such a negative impact on his teammates. I mean, he was a phenomenal player, but the crazy celebrations, the issues at quarterback with Donovan McNabb, with Tony Romo, with everything else, it just detracted so much from the other guys around him. I can understand why he's not in the Hall of Fame right away, even though he has the numbers to back it up. But I think that at some point he should be in the Hall of Fame.
And we look at baseball, the number 1 name that comes to mind is Pete Rose. Obviously, he was a phenomenal baseball player, but you know, he had his own personal off-field allegations that actually impacted the Cincinnati Reds. He was big on gambling, and they really caught up with him. Now he's banned from baseball. Do you think he should be a Hall of Famer?
I definitely think he should be a Hall of Famer. Pete Rose, he's the all-time hits leader. He was a phenomenal player with hustle, with being able to play multiple positions in the field. He was a phenomenal teammate. I mean, he's everything that you look for in a baseball player. He had off-the-field issues with gambling and whatnot, and there have been petitions to try and get him back into the Hall of Fame, get him reinstated in baseball, and I think that in time he will be in the Hall of Fame. It's just, you know, it takes time, it takes healing.
And then when you switch over to the NBA, of course, you'll have a lot of names who made the Hall of Fame this recent year: Allen Iverson, Shaquille O'Neal, Yao Ming. Then when you look at future names like T-Mac, Tracy McGrady, and Steve Nash. Now, Tracy McGrady, obviously, he had dealt with injuries, and, you know, the NBA is so much different. It's not really about stats. It's more about championships. If you win a championship, are you actually qualified to be in the NBA? You know, same thing with Charles Barkley. He's a Hall of Famer, and a lot of people question him as well. Steve Nash is a 2-time MVP. Is he certified for the Hall of Fame? So what do you think about the NBA's perspective of Hall of Fame?
I think the NBA is different because I feel like it's the sport that is most impacted by individuals rather than the whole team. I mean, with baseball, you need all 9 to 25 guys working together at the same time. In the NFL, you have 11 guys on both sides of the field that all need to be aware of what play is going on and how they're going to defend it or approach it, how they're going to execute it. With basketball, you can theoretically just run ISO and win yourself a championship if you have the best player in the league.
Exactly. To get names like Stephen Curry now, they really don't run the ISO, but, you know, this is an all-around team, and I think he's a Hall of Famer in the future to come, but he was a late bloomer.
Right.
So we just have to wait and see how this works and how this adapts in the future. And we're just going to move on to a thing where you are most concerned about is the World Baseball Classic. Obviously, this year has been very exciting. I've watched it, and obviously the United States came victorious against, I think, Dominican Republic?
Puerto Rico.
I'm sorry, I apologize. But, you know, I think this is something that fans should actually, you know, take pride in, because you have big name stars that are in this event.
Right.
And this is not an every year event, but I feel like the fans should take a part of this. They represent their countries, and, you know, it's a great overall event just to take part of.
Right, exactly. Well, obviously this has been a big year for the World Baseball Classic. Only happens once every 4 years, but this year they surpassed the million fan mark in attendance for the first time. I believe they had 51,000 people attend the final game in Dodger Stadium. The U.S. beat Puerto Rico 8-0. They had a record for viewership on TV. I also think the final game had the second most amount of viewers for like an MLB game on MLB Network, which is huge. It's huge.
And when you look at baseball, I mean, it's called America's pastime.
Right.
But it's slowly adapting to a fan favorite. I mean, it's been a fan favorite for a while, but when you look at that World Series, you look at the Indians versus
the Cubs.
The Cubs. You know, the Cubs were down 3-1. And they made it exciting. They came back and won. They were in the drought for 106 years. And it makes fans now want to actually be in tune with this. And now with the World Baseball Classic, with USA becoming victorious, it's becoming something that people are going to say, hey, maybe we should actually watch this for all 9 innings, because it's just so interesting. It's just so fascinating. It just makes you want to glue your eyes to the TV screen.
Right. Yeah. And I think it has reached a new amount of relevance. I think that more people are starting to pay attention to it, especially with the U.S. winning this year, especially with guys like Javier Baez, Francisco Lindor, Carlos Correa playing for Puerto Rico and showing the amount of talent that they have on the diamond. But I think that some ways that you can make it more relevant, and this is a little bit controversial, but I think the first thing is instead of the All-Star break, which happens, middle of the season, kind of mid-July, I think that we should have every 4 years the World Baseball Classic.
Exactly.
You reduce the pool from 16 teams to 8, and then the tournament altogether would take about 10 days. So you're only adding 4 or 5 days onto the MLB season total. You're not going to be playing into mid-November like most people would speculate. I think that you could also incorporate the All-Star Game and the Home Run Derby into the World Baseball Classic. Maybe have one representative from each team play in the Home Run Derby, or imagine the controversy that could pop up in the middle of the season where you have two guys like Mike Trout and Bryce Harper who are having phenomenal seasons competing for the final outfield spot on the USA team. There's going to be this giant public debate about who should make the team and who shouldn't. And honestly, I feel like a large reason why so many stars don't participate in the World Baseball Classic is because they're worried it's going to mess up their routine in spring training. They're worried it's going to make it more difficult for them to prepare for the long season ahead. If you have this in the middle of the season, guys can either use it as time to rest up or to just stick in their routine and keep playing baseball, right? You have a one round robin period for the first round. You play all 3 teams in your pool, move on to the semifinals. It's a one game thing. If you win that, you go to the final, you play a best of 3 series. If you win the whole thing, congratulations, we'll see you in 4 years.
And obviously, it's a sport that's obviously on the rise, and we as fans, we are just so excited to watch it. Coming up next, we have our guest host for the week, and he has some updates about March Madness. We'll see you guys when we come back. And we are back with our special guest host who hails from one of the great states who produced many great athletes, one in particular that answer Allen Iverson, Mr. Spencer Lee. How you doing, Spencer?
I'm great. How are you doing, De'Angelo?
All right, so obviously you have some March Madness updates for us. What you want to talk about, man?
Of course. Well, first of all, aren't we having a great March?
We are having a great
Best
March.
time of the year.
Madness, baby.
It is. I'm going to be talking about the upsets today that we saw in the first 2 rounds. Most notably was Wisconsin over the #1 overall seed Villanova. And if you look at this game on paper, it's very hard to tell who won this game. You had them shooting close to similar field goal percentages, Wisconsin 54.1 and Villanova 41%. Wisconsin turned the ball over more than Villanova. Villanova protected the ball better. The big stat line things that jump out on you are the game flow. Wisconsin never let them get ahead of more than 5 points, by more than 5 points. And Chris Jenkins only had, I believe, 6 points, and he's one of their top players. He hit that monumental shot versus UNC last year, which gave them a national championship.
Right, exactly.
And Mikal Bridges, he had 0 points. He's one of their best players. He needs to be, it can't all be on Josh Hart. And Wisconsin is spectacular under pressure. Under Coach Grad, they are 39-1 when leading after the half.
And then when you swing over to another game that happened this past week, Patrick, obviously the Duke Blue Devils is your favorite team in college basketball, but when you look at the Gamecocks, they were the most underrated team coming in the tournament. They beat Marquette and they beat Duke, 2 similar teams on the offensive side of the ball, teams that actually can shoot lights out.
Right.
But just the pressure defense that they brought out in each second half of that game that just changed the whole momentum of that game.
I mean, I saw kind of going into it, my theory was if the Gamecocks can limit one of the 3 Duke superstars in Jason Tatum, Grayson Allen, and Luke Kennard, they'll have a shot at winning that game. And that's exactly what they did. Coach K said after the game that was probably the toughest defensive team that they've played in a long, long time, over multiple seasons. And it definitely showed. I mean, what's really unreal about it is that they kept the game close when they shot, terribly in the first half.
They shot 20% in the first half.
Right.
20.
And then they come out in the second half and they shoot 71% from the field and they end up winning the ball game. They made 65 points in the second half, which is unreal for a team that didn't even get 65 points in some full games this year.
Most ever scored against Coach K in a half.
Yeah,
That's correct.
even though it was a 7-point game, obviously the Gamecocks lost PJ Dozier and Mike Costa. They both fouled out. But this team, they just continue to have heart and dedication. Chris Silva, he's just so monumental down low in the paint. Nothing can stop him when it comes to crunch time. And they were able to come away with, like I said, a 7-point victory. And now they're going against a Baylor team who a lot of people think that they have length and athleticism. But if the Gamecocks can stick to that game plan, they can maybe be the major upset in this conference, along with another one you said earlier. You said Butler and UNC. You feel like Butler can really take advantage of UNC. They have similar gameplay on the defensive end. So what do you feel about that?
I feel like Butler is definitely one of the more underrated teams in the tournament. In my bracket, I have them beating UNC in the Sweet 16. I think that UCLA will come out on top in that region of the bracket. I actually have them playing in the finals. Right now, they're my favorite to win the finals. But I think that Butler, if they can limit UNC on the offensive glass, and if they can, make it difficult for them to make three-point shots, they can win this game.
Exactly.
UNC had trouble with Arkansas. They didn't put away their first-round matchup quite as easily as some of the other number one seeds did. But I really, really think that Butler has a good shot at taking them down.
And going over to when you say UNC, obviously they beat Arkansas, but Arkansas really gave them a scare in the second half, late in the second half, but they were just able to come back and just take that second round victory and move on against Butler. But like you said, they do have a similar, they have a similar defensive scheme. But, I feel like Butler could upset them, only because this is a team who's done this before. They've done it, I think it was back in 2010 against Duke.
Brought Duke all the way into the final second.
Exactly.
And
Gordon Hayward was this close to having the greatest shot of all time.
And a lot of people felt like that year they were a Cinderella story. That team is filled with so much hard dedication. They're aggressive. They played great that year. And I feel like they deserve to be there.
And then they made it back the next year.
They made it back the next year. And even without Brad Stevens, this team is just really great. I feel like they're an underdog myself, but I don't really want to call them an underdog because they've been doing this before. They just haven't been doing it recently.
Right. Who are our favorites right now to win this thing?
Bias. I'm going with UNC. I'm sorry. I'm going with UNC. That's
Understandable. Understandable. Spencer?
The way I've been seeing Kansas play, they've just been putting teams away. I think if South Carolina could keep up the scoring pace they're on, which is highly unlikely, scoring 90.5 points a game, that would make them unstoppable. But I think Kansas is the favorite as of right now.
What about you, Pat?
I've got UCLA. I think if Lonzo Ball can do his thing, if Bryce Alford can hit his shots, these guys can go all the way. This is a big stage for big-time players. Lonzo Ball is a big-time player. And I think that when it's all said and done, he's going to have one of the most incredible tournaments that we've ever seen from an individual player.
You think Lonzo Ball is going to be better than Magic Johnson?
I never said that. Leave that smack talk to LeVar. That's all him. That's not me.
Salute to LeVar Ball. Okay, so we're going to swing over to our plays of the week. Obviously, I'm not that big on baseball, but I watch it. Obviously, you two play baseball. Patrick, you play for club baseball for USC. So,
yes, sir. Go Cox.
I'm going to take you back to, I think it was a week ago. Double play, Atlanta Braves.
Oh, this is nice. This is nice.
Against Detroit.
You're going to like this.
Against Detroit in spring training. Obviously, a lot of people don't care about spring training, but when you see a double play, you see a double play. So,
right.
I mean, hey, what you feel about this?
I mean, Brandon Phillips, first of all, a key acquisition for the Braves, getting some, key veteran leadership up the middle of the field, pairing that with Dansby Swanson, the former #1 overall pick in the draft, making a nice play, going to his backhand side, flipping it behind his back. That's an incredible turn. That's really, really nice.
Spencer?
That's Brandon Phillips. He's a fantastic defensive player. I think his defense is really underrated, and that is just beautiful.
I need to watch baseball, man. I need to get up on this
Brandon
stuff.
Phillips will make you want to watch baseball, that's for sure.
Hey, man, Brandon, hook me up. Get me right. Let me watch all 9 innings so I can see what you do. All right, so we're going to switch over to the most embarrassing play of the week. Obviously, like I said, past 3 episodes, no one wants to get embarrassed, but, Seth, not Steph, but Seth. Your brother's one of the best ball handlers in the league, but obviously you can't take control of the ball. You just look, man.
Yeah, that looks like you in pickup games.
I know. Yeah, it is me in pickup games. Seth, man, that's just embarrassing, man. I wonder what your brother thinks about this, man. That's just horrible.
Luckily, I'm not quick enough to break my own ankles in a pickup game.
I'm not trying. I have bad knees. I'm not trying to do all of this right now. So.
Those Curry brothers are good, though, man.
They are good, man, especially Seth. He's making a name for himself in the NBA. He's playing with the Dallas Mavericks. He's shooting well. He's not like his brother. He's not an MVP caliber player like his brother, but he's obviously making a name for himself. And big salute to Steph Curry. All right, so this wraps up for this week's episode. Obviously, I would much like to thank Patrick DeMarre for being my fill-in host for this week, man, and Spencer Lee for
for
being
having
a
me.
special guest.
Love to be back anytime.
Exactly. Like I said, I really, really appreciate it. Once again, we ask you guys to please subscribe to SUTV for more content. For Capital City Sports, I'm De'Angelo Stevenson.
I'm Patrick DeMarre.
I'm Spencer Lee.
And we'll see you guys next time.